Hi, Primas. I'm Roxy,
And I'm Giselle.
and this is the For Las Primas podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone.
This week's episode is a treat. When we started For Las Primas, one of our biggest commitments was to have real conversations about the struggles of being first generation, especially as Latinas navigating life in the U.S.
And we knew that meant not just sharing our stories, but making space for your stories too. So we're thrilled to kick off something new, interviews with real Latina women and their families.
We're talking about immigration stories, generational sacrifice, the guilt, the hustle, the pride, and the beauty that comes with being first gen. It's raw, it's emotional, and it's powerful.
So grab your cafecito or your wine, no judgment here, remember, and settle in. You're about to hear a story that might remind you of your own family or one that opens your heart to everyone else's journey.
So let's get into it, Primas. So excited that we're finally getting to this point in the podcast. This is a big milestone for us, our first interviewee.
So I asked my friend Lily to join us today. I met her at work as a nurse. She was a nursing assistant at the time, and then she went back to school and she's an RN now. She's also an herbologist, which is really cool to like blend the two. And she's a first generation Mexican American.
How exciting. An herbologist. I feel like this is so up our alley to have as our first interview.
Yes.
Well, we're so excited for you all to listen in, and let's meet Lily. Welcome, Lily. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you, and yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Yes, so I'm Lily. Hi, Lily Bell. Just got married, just had a baby, so motherhood's new. I'm also a nurse. I'm first gen. I come from a long line of eldest daughters. Like my grandma was an eldest daughter, the rest are boys, and the only girl. My mom was an eldest daughter, only girl, the rest
my
are boys. I'm the
That
oldest.
is-
I have two brothers, no sisters,
Wow.
and I just had my first baby girl.
Okay, wait, I'm kind of
That's really powerful.
yes.
I'm also an herbalist. I went to school for herbal medicine.
That's amazing. So what is the story that got you to the United States? You mentioned you were first generation. So let's get into that a little bit.
So, from what I know, is my dad came over first. They just like everybody, they wanted a better life for them, their kids, their family. Got a call like, "Hey, come join us in New York." Went to New York. I think he came over in like 88, 89. And then he brought my mom over at like 90 or 91, and then I was born in 92. So I just remember like the stories that I hear now are that my parents lived with another family in a two-bedroom apartment. So we lived in Queens, New York, and I think one of the buildings we had like supernatural experiences there too. My mom like was watching us talk to ghosts and everything. She said that building before, like a couple years before, had burnt down and they just rebuilt on top of it. Just the stories that my mom tells and like with family and everything is just so interesting. And I don't doubt it, especially with like how I'm heading into like herbalism and spirituality and everything. I'm just like, I was born for this, or like there's something going on here that I'm meant to be in this lineage here.
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, it's interesting for Giselle and I to think about too, because all of the spirituality, call them supernatural experiences, but they're not really supernatural. It's being more in tune with the spirit world. I think it's beautiful to know or to be reminded that that transcends throughout all of Latin America.
I wonder if we're predisposed though, because there are people who just like can't seem to get into that level like of their third eye, even though you know they have that gift and they don't realize they're doing it. That's cool that you don't realize what that could be.
Yeah. Or like also I was told like we all have the connection. It's just like whether you choose to accept it or not, or like not. It would be
Yes.
like whether you'll mature into that side, if that makes sense.
I don't know if I believe that fully, because I see a lot of things and have had a lot of experiences, and I do not want it. I want somebody else to have that
Noted.
for themselves if they like that. Like,
Well, I
when
wonder
my
if you would like connect and see more if you like fully accepted it, you know?
probably. So you grew up in New York. You were living as a child with two families, which is not out of the ordinary for a lot of immigrant families. What was it like for you, maybe in the early years, maybe elementary school, How did you find assimilating to the US or your family? What was that experience like for you guys?
So we did move down to St. Pete when I was 5. So it was a lot of getting used to not a lot of buildings and noise. I remember that thinking it was so quiet. But as far as going to school, or the real like memories that I have was going to the doctor's office and having my dad give me the forms like, here, fill this out. And I'm like, well, do you not know my birthday? He's like, your mom usually takes care of these things. He's like, you should learn how to do this too. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm only like 9, but whatever. It was interesting as far as food wise goes. My mom would send me to school with my own lunchbox of like homemade food. But she said, but get the school food too, because I didn't pack you enough. And because the teacher saw that it was a lunchbox, they were like, you're not allowed in the lunch line. And my mom came and raised hell. Like, she might have not been able to speak full English at that point, but they knew she was upset about something. But although there was barriers to translation and my mom having to call in somebody to translate for her, that's where I learned like what was needed to be told to adults. It just showed me how strong of a woman my mom is to be able to fight those barriers to get us to where she wanted us to be, getting what we deserve. If the government provided these resources and assistance, she was going to find a way to make sure that we had it.
Mama bears. I mean, it doesn't matter what language you speak or don't speak. I mean, you're just willing to do what it takes for your kids. Oh, that's really beautiful, though, that she, put herself out there, even though she didn't speak the language. A lot of people would be intimidated by that, but her just going out there, yeah, she is a strong woman. And I think a lot of us can relate to the dads not knowing how to fill out paperwork.
For real. I know I always joke around that I don't like admin, and I don't like to do a lot of admin in my house. And so my husband does my admin.
I want to go back to the lunch though, because that's something Giselle and I have talked about is like lunch, and first generation kids often have food that could be regarded as smelly or disgusting by kids non-ethnic. So did you ever have any experiences like that with your lunch or?
Not that I was insulted by. There were more people that were curious because it smelled so good. I was so into our culture. My mom was so good at keeping us in our culture.
Was there a lot of Hispanic kids in St. Pete back in the 90s?
No, not at all. I remember just being the only Mexican. I used to be called Mexico in school. In high school, they'd be like, hey, Mexico. Turn around and be like, yeah, what's up? I was the only like Spanish kid in my AP classes. I hated when they were like, so how do you say this in Spanish? I'm like, I don't know, bro, look it up. I was like, that's the thing when my hate for being bilingual started. Not necessarily a hate, but like hesitancy. Because in middle school, I did read off passages in Spanish that were in Spanish, and I got made fun of at that point. Nobody should be laughing at you, but like I feel like I've never recovered from that. And to this day, I tell Giselle, I was like, I don't translate at the hospital for anybody except for myself.
Yeah, I still have that problem to this day with reading. And I think it just stems from like learning English from just like reading the words. The pronunciation is off.
Yeah, I say stuff weirdly. I was in ESOL for a little while because I couldn't get words, the cadence correctly. It's just like my pronunciation wasn't there.
Totally.
No, I mean, English is a ridiculous language to learn how to read anyway. Let's get real. Like the word through, I will never get over that word. I'm like, in what world is that who's gonna know how to say that? Like you need to know all of the grammar. That's the beauty about Spanish. The way it reads is the way it sounds, is the way you say it, and it's flawless. But English, I mean, I remember when I was in kindergarten, I basically taught my mom English and how to and the words and the grammatical pieces. And I would just be like, Mommy, no se dice así, es así, you know? And now as an adult, I can't even imagine needing to learn English for the first time. Like our parents did, they learned it as adults. Like that in it of itself is an incredible accomplishment.
And to be proficient enough to like do their own documents now, it's quite a feat.
I want to learn more about like where you were talking about your sort of love hate with bilingualism and needing to translate and that becoming sort of a point of, I don't want to say frustration, but maybe frustration as a kid and not wanting to be the person that's responsible for that. So what's your relationship with bilingualism today? How did that evolve throughout your life?
I don't know. I think like getting out of elementary school, going to middle school, I was very fluent in both. I still am fluent. I hide it very well. I remember my brothers attempted to start learning Spanish or trying to be more fluent in it. And just like family friends mostly were just like, oh, he's trying. He can't even say this correctly. You know, they're so American now. There's no chance of them to be able to be Mexican, and that hurt, that really hit hard. So ever since then I've tried. I will say stuff to my mom and she won't like judge us, she'll say stuff back to us, but in her house she speaks in Spanish only. She's trying to keep it alive, which is great for my daughter and my nephew. And then in high school, just seeing family members still saying the same thing. My grandpa made a comment that we weren't as fluent as we used to be. We're losing our native tongue. And then also because I was eating with utensils and not a tortilla, he was just like too American now. He's just like, they don't even know how we eat back in Mexico.
Yeah, I can imagine that's super hurtful, especially because
Hmm.
you're trying and because you do feel Mexican. You are Mexican and you are the right amount of Mexican that you could be given your environment because your
Yeah,
environment has everything to do. I can
yeah.
imagine that's super hurtful as a child too.
And relating to the hospital, there's so many different Spanish dialects that come through that I don't think I'd be able to get through what I want to say. But I mean, like I said, I am fluent. You know Spanish. I'm like, yeah, but not medical Spanish. And that's like the where the gray line is, I guess you can say, because people need help with the translation, but I shouldn't be doing that for doctors as well.
I also think it's like when we're trying to translate at work, like it's a skill that we don't get paid for. We don't get paid extra. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like at work, I will not translate unless my work, like my plate is like not that full, and then like okay, sure. But if I'm busy and I'm doing
Yeah.
with my patient, then no, I'm not like stopping what I'm doing to add on the task of translating for you.
And yeah, you should get paid
Right.
for your skill set. Do you visit? Have you gone back to Mexico, Lily?
I went once with my family to visit family when I was 8 years old. That was a long time ago. And you know, it's so funny. It's, you know, your parents don't tell you anything. All of a sudden, I'm on a train, then I'm on a plane, then I'm on a bus 2 hours out of the city. And then we show up at this place. I'm like, what is this? And my mom was just saying, like, oh, we're here at your grandma's house, or your uncle lives here. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And like, not having grandparents growing up, I didn't register what a grandparent was until my mom walked out and said, Mom. And I'm like, that's your mom? And she goes, yeah. I was like, that's my grandma? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, like it just clicked at that moment. And then I met my mom's brothers, so my uncles, for the first time. I got to see where she kind of like grew up. My grandpa's not around. He passed away when my mom was young. But I remember that moment going like, oh, no way. Like my mom has a mom. So even then, I hated brushing my hair. That was the first thing my grandma said. She was like, oh, why don't you brush your hair? You look like a mop.
So they just say whatever comes to
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Like even the still commenting on your looks being the first thing is like
Yes.
all Latin.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh, that like
It
made
was
died, Lily, thinking about like our family, like Giselle and I feel like we've talked about this, and with all the political climate right now, like families
mhm.
come here to give their kids a better life at the expense of like not seeing your mom. That would
Yeah.
devastate me to like be in a like I need my mom more as an adult than I've ever needed her as
Oh
a
my God, yes. Hmm.
and that makes me
Hmm.
teary-eyed because I am a mom now and I can't imagine like going to another country and not having my mom. So that in it of itself just feels so sad and like emotional.
No, it's insane. Even having my daughter, although she's the second grandbaby, my mom was just saying, like, I did this by myself. Like, the only reason I knew that my nipples weren't supposed to be cracked and red and bleeding was because our neighbor went down to the pharmacy to get me some nipple cream and brought it up and said, I saw you like being frustrated with breastfeeding. Here you go. And then she goes, like, nobody tells you that at the doctor. She goes, I wasn't educated like that. She goes, you have so much more knowledge now.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And that your daughter gets to her and gets to experience the culture too. You know,
Hmm.
language is an important connection to culture. But No, Sabo kids can still feel very connected to their culture without knowing how to speak the language themselves, right? So, one thing that I'm thankful for my family is they did force me to speak Spanish. And I, similarly to you, Lily, had years of my life where I was frustrated. I didn't want to speak Spanish. I just wanted to be American like my American friends. But we still, like, the food brought us together, and I knew,
Yeah.
the food, the music, the
Hmm.
loudness, all the things. So how did that translate for you in terms of culture and things that you want to keep now as an adult?
I definitely want to do the family gatherings. I've never been a cook. I can cook. I don't want to. I was always the one volunteered to go chop this up, mix this, go stir that, take this outside. Because my mom has an outside kitchen. And so it was always like lugging back and forth pots and pans of hot things. But I do want to continue the family gatherings. I want to continue the music. I want to continue Spanish speaking, all the stuff that my daughter watches. Like when she does get screen time, it's Spanish, Spanish alphabet, Spanish numbers, how to introduce yourself, those little things.
I love that.
um,
So do you
that's
where
I
you
do
would
want to
want
continue the culture and traditions.
Yeah, how would you like pass down, I guess, like the spirituality part of it? Because like for us, my mom forced me to do like cleanings and stuff like that. So from a young age,
Uh,
it's been like ingrained in us.
I was actually thinking about that recently. I don't know how to say this is what we practice because we've decided not to baptize her. My husband is from the Bahamas, so he has a very religious, patriarchal family over there too. And we both said that if we baptize her, the promise that we make to God is that we would show her the church and make sure she's following the church way, but we don't go to church. So how can we upkeep that promise to God? I don't know if I was taught that as a kid about God, but my mom said that one day I just picked up an egg when my dad was sick and just started cleaning him because I was watching my mom do cleanings, limpias on people. And so I'm hoping my daughter does something like that. I don't have a space for my altar at the moment, but I'm sure once that pops out and she'll see me practicing at it, I'm sure she's gonna come over one day and go like, "What's that?"
Girl, I feel like you just unlocked a memory for me. Like I remember seeing the altars as a kid.
Hmm.
Does your mom still
My
have one?
mom always had one.
I don't know. Good question.
There's some stuff that my mom does that I would love to. My dad always called my grandma La Bruja because she's like the town herbalist. And if you have a problema, you go see her. And so my mom used to work with my grandma to the point where she used to be like a nurse for her. Then growing up, having watched my mom do that stuff, I started picking up here and there. When I was little, I had a fever that would not go away. She took me to the doctor, she took me to the ER, and like, but there was nothing in the blood work. There was nothing in the imaging, and then the fever would go away, but it'd come back like the next day. And so finally, my mom called my grandma and was like, "What can I do?" And my grandma said, "Take these herbs." Luckily, she grew them outside and put them in her ears, let her sleep with them in overnight. The next day, that fever disappeared and never came back. And then just growing up, watching my mom use different oils or herbs, or going to the botanicas and talking to the ladies there and picking up like figurines or even wearing certain jewelry for certain things. That was something that I paid attention to the point where I did go to herbal school to learn how to do this. But she said, although you're learning the American way, you're learning it still, you're still going to figure out, you're going to make your way to how I know my stuff.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, another thing that just transcends so many of our cultures, like across Latin America. I love that your abuela was a curandera. She was the town curandera.
Hmm.
What is this like common in Mexican culture?
I am not sure. I know we practice it. My aunt, who's also Mexican, but she's from Sinaloa, so she's like from the West Coast. She's very holistic too, to the point where like she's making my cousins drink the weirdest stuff. But like now I understand why. But as far as like within our family, it is common. Also, Mexican country, they're very poor. They don't have like health insurance. They can't just go. They require payment up front at the hospital. So they will do limpias and hierbas and baños just to see if it's like the evil eye on you, the mal ojo. That's one reason I got into herbalism. In college, I didn't have any health insurance. I started turning to the herbs to see if something could help me. Seeing how our like healthcare system here in America is broken. I wanted to take that knowledge and pass it on to people. So now I just do whoever needs it. If you need something, I'll make it for you. I don't even charge. But that's how I think it's spread throughout Mexico, and as well as learning like what's their what's it called, ethnobotany, like whatever's around them and how to use that stuff. People buy sage, people buy the fancy things, but really look what's around you because your environment is telling you what you need at that moment.
And I will vouch for Lily's trinkets because she gave me rosemary syrup. I had this cough. It was like not tied to anything. It was just like a cough for months. She showed up at work one time and she was like, "Here you go." And she gave me the syrup. It literally went away.
Also love, Lily, that you are a nurse, and it's always interesting to meet people who are in the science field also dabble with the natural side of medicine.
Mhm.
So how do you respond to like the Western side of people that would claim that herbalism is unscientific or it's just superstition?
How did we get here? How did we survive all these years without amoxicillin? It came from somewhere. Like foxtail, the plant gave us digitalis. That's a heart medication. Insulin, we figured that came from like, I think the beginning was like pig insulin we used. I don't know where it came from before that. We fermented foods for like gut biome, but we used to ferment it because we didn't have like stoves and whatnot that we could use. So that's the only way to kill bacteria. But that's how I see it. We made it here somehow. I do believe in evidence-based practice, so I'm not going to tell somebody, oh, you do this to help your illness, don't go to the doctor. I want you to do both, but you could use herbs to support your body if it is getting you sick. Learn how to fight it with the herbs. Herbs take a while to take effect, should I say. It can take 2 weeks before you see anything happening. It's not the all magic pill, but that's what I'm here to try to like support people. That's why we call it supportive herbs and not like the little miracle thing. When I see things online like take my this for, especially right now in motherhood, increasing your milk supply. I tried everything. I couldn't get more than an ounce of pumping session, and I pumped a lot. And I'm, what's it called? I stopped pumping. I stopped breastfeeding now because it's just better for my mental health. But again, I knew the herbs that they were talking about. I even did my own research. And yes, it's supposed to help in the long run, but sometimes your body just doesn't work with it. But I just figured, okay, well, I did my 2 weeks in it.
I love that you mentioned that because I had so much fenugreek that I thought I was like making myself like I was so sick of it. And that's really validating to hear in context of like the breastfeeding part because it was like drink Malta. I drink so much Malta. I hate Malta. It's so gross, so bad. But like, yeah, you're so right. Like herbs do take a long time. And I love your take of like, how did we get here? You bring this up because it is so important to not just take the medication. It's in like we need to find what the root cause is and can you take herbs over time, right? Like mullein, Giselle, you're putting on like a cough. I love those tips, or that perspective that you shared.
My teacher was also open-minded like that as well. And that's one reason I decided to even go there. I forgot what they had mentioned at one point, but I remember they said something along those lines of like, we're not here to convince you like this is the correct way. We're just here to show you how herbs can support you. And I just remember thinking, like sitting there going, I'm so glad I'm here. Like I belong here. Like I really felt in that moment, like I was where I needed to be. And I hid it from my parents for so long that I was in herbal school. And finally I was like, hey guys, I'm in herbalism school. I'm learning how to be a curandera. And my mom was like, I want you to know, someone told us a long time ago that this is what you would go into. And we've just been waiting for you to do it. And after that, my school was paid for.
Yeah, I love how like your grandma was healing your mother, and then now you just found your way to like healing. I love that.
Yeah.
Lily, do you believe that herbalism can help with emotional or ancestral healing? And if so, how?
So there's a subcategory of herbalism. It could be herbalism spirituality called flower essences. So you're not necessarily ingesting the actual plant or anything from the plant except for its energy. And that's usually used mostly for emotional things. And my experience with that is I played with the poisonous plants. I played. And that required me learning about the plant. If I've never met the plant, she wouldn't show us a picture of the plant. She would just say, like, we'll go on a journey and they'll say, like, tell me what you saw. And it's usually the plant really coming through and communicating with us. But that's really what solidified a lot of my belief in herbalism. My friend told me, I think you'd be great for this class, sign up for it. Every plant has like a little purpose that they like to come in to do. I love walking through any kind of nature and seeing what like waves at you. That's like your medicine that you need for that day. And so that's just like the wind and the spirit talking to you. And those vibrations from the essences do help the vibration of your body. So there's something misaligned and the channels need to be redirected or realigned. And so those vibrations help just bring that back to you.
I mean, I don't think that it's woo-woo. Why is that any different than believing in God? Like, we can't see it necessarily, we can feel it. So, like, why wouldn't we believe that plants have energy when their roots are at the core of like the earth and they're
Right.
grounded, right?
And
Yeah.
it's I like I said, I enjoyed all that. Learning from it. My teachers bringing that up. I'm actually going to get certified in flower essences this year, and I want to learn more because the vibrations of certain plants, especially poisonous plants, really do help with shadow work in people. And it's just, I don't know, they have a lot to say. These plants have a lot to say.
For those who might not know, what is shadow work?
So shadow work is diving into your like inner self, your reflections, past traumas that you might need to work through. Also, like just figuring out why something's triggering you. I can't necessarily hold a conversation with political topics because I get so intense, I get so upset. By doing that reflection, that shadow work of why does it trigger me so much, you realize there are things that have happened in your past that people maybe of that side have said to you that's hurt you and you haven't healed from it. That's how I found my shadow work to be. I'm sure it's different for everyone. People have like inner demons to work with. I just have trauma from being first gen, like my Spanish and the looking different maybe.
A lot of us carry a lot of trauma from being first gen, because how could you not when your families like give up so much to come here and then they tell you the stories and then you're helping
Hmm.
them, they're giving you a better life, right? We have talked about so much of the guilt and all that comes along with being first gen. What do you think are some of the strengths that you have found as an adult now from being a first
Oh
gen?
my God, tough skin. It's not only being first gen, being the eldest, hearing the opinions of others. You just gotta let it roll off your back, but also getting maybe being witty. I didn't realize that I could be so quick in my answers sometimes, but at least you're anticipating what could happen. So you plan out, it also comes anxiety. You plan out what's happening. If somebody says a certain thing, if you need a certain paperwork, if this the road is blocked, what other roads can you take on the way? Just being, I guess, just like, again, trying to figure out like what your roadblocks could be and figuring out how to solve it. But mostly I would say the tough skin and just being a hard worker, like nose to the grindstone. Really, your parents came here for a reason. Now it's your turn to show them that they did a good job in choosing to bring you here.
Our last episode was about hustle culture and the hard work that our parents taught us versus wanting to lean into the soft life a little bit more. And so, one question that I have is, what herbs or practices do you recommend for nervous system regulation, rest, and relaxation for those of us who have no chill?
They say ashwagandha is really good to regulate your nervous system. Lemon balm, it's a part of the mint family. It helps just like chill you, like just literally chill you out. Um, as well as passion flower leaf. That helps circulating thoughts. It's good for sleep. It'll help you pass out immediately. I have a little tincture bottle of it, and I'm always out.
Any closing thoughts?
Being first gen is a work in progress, man. My goodness, you're always learning what to do next, I guess. Everything's a new experience. I thought I had it figured out, then I had a child, and now I'm like, oh crap, second gen here. First gen for my husband because he's from the Bahamas. So first gen one way, second gen the other way, and then how are we going to raise this multicultural child to be and recognize their culture?
Yeah, and to feel proud, right? Because I think too,
Mhm.
like what's happening right now in our country in the US is pushing a monoculture. I think as mothers, we have a huge responsibility to make sure our children know where they come from, feel
Mhm.
proud of their identity in a way that wasn't modeled for us. So how can we be that guide for our children?
No, I agree. That's why I want the flags in her room. She knows what her flags look like, the Bahamian, Mexican, and the U.S. flag. I want her to have it all.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Lily. This was such a lovely conversation. Thank you for joining us and being our first interviewee on For Las Primas.
Yeah.
We have absolutely loved this
Thank you.
conversation so much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So that was really nice hearing from Lily. I hope that you guys took something out of that conversation. Should we do some cafecito and chisme?
Cafecito and chisme. Let's do it. Gotta bring the cheese. All right, what do we got for today?
So Carol G's album came out, and have you gotten a chance to listen to it at all?
No, I haven't listened to the album yet, but I saw the music video and I did hear Papacito, the song.
Okay, and that song was like in Spanglish.
Yeah.
So what did you think about that?
I'm trying to come back to Carol. But it was good. I think I'm still having a hard time with her as like a Tropicana performer and all of these things. Like, what are you doing? But
yeah, I feel like when I listened to the album, I mean, this is only my first listen. You know, sometimes you gotta listen like 5 times to really like get it.
yes.
But like that song with her singing in English was giving me like Shakira vibes. Like, you know, Shakira has like English music too.
You know what this reminds me of? My grandma, que en paz descanse, Mima, was always like, yo nunca entiendo lo que está diciendo la Shakira esa. La Shakira, I can never understand a word she says. Anyway, I just heard Mima in my head as you said. Shakira has a better voice. Do you think there's an aspect of Carol that is like Shakira vibes? Because Shakira sold out to mainstream from her rock and roll aesthetic to like more Lebanese background. And then she's just what we have today, which is great. We love Shakira. It's fine. But Carol's doing a similar thing where she's like sort of changing her whole image. Like she's no longer the blue-haired, urban, baggy clothes wearing woman that we once knew and loved.
Yeah, I agree. While I was listening to it, a lot of old 90s like tracks came to mind. So I don't know. Listen to it. Let me know. Also, I saw that Bad Bunny, he did an interview with Verity and they asked him why he's not coming to the US. And he was like, it's unnecessary. And I was like, period, king. It is.
That's it. That's it. Now, he also reposted, I thought it was him, but he reposted on his Instagram, Ice in Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah, I also thought it was him.
Yeah, I also learned the term mamabicho, and I think that's my favorite insult that I've heard in Spanish. I never heard that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, share it to the class.
Okay, mamabicho is like a cocksucker, and like I think it's such a good term in English as well. But I can't bring myself to like insult someone. I'm very vulgar, but I no llego a eso. But I love it in Spanish because I have no ties to it. It doesn't sound as good. I'm trying for an opportunity to call someone that.
Hopefully we'll get one soon. Why is he always in sunglasses? Like, I get it, like you're cool or whatever, but like, are you trying not to show us your eyes for a reason?
Maybe he's stoned.
I was thinking more like a mar de ojo kind of thing.
Oh.
But I don't know.
Wait, how? How am I there?
But like, you know, what if somebody was like, you can never show them your eyes?
Yeah. I like that theory. It's a good one. But that is all that we have for today. Thank you all so much for listening in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.